Hi, I'm Ella. I go to Otago Girls High School and I'm year 12 going into year 13.
Ella was playing rugby and had a head knock with her own teammate.
I didn't think too much of it, but the next day I woke up and had headaches and other symptoms.
So we sought the advice for concussion.
The symptoms of concussion can be quite broad. So you can have everything from balance disturbance, difficulty sleeping, have trouble with cognition, remembering things. You may find that things that were easy before now require immense amounts of mental energy. Early active treatment can accelerate the healing of the particular concussion and reduce the risk.
If we get the opportunity to recognise when there's an issue and remove them from the field and then refer on appropriately, the ankle sprain you might just shoot off to the physio, but this is more about, hey, how were you before the event? And now we're going to refer you on to someone medically trained basically to clear you before you return to play. So the concussion pathway is excellent in the sense that it provides quality care across the board from the time it happens to the time that they return to play. Data doesn't lie, the interpretation's important, which is why we use clinicians to help with the process of return to play.
We will run them through a modified screening tool that uses the SCAT-5, which is an internationally accepted standard, and they'll also have an assessment from me.
Pre-season baseline screening is an important part of any of the facets of preparing to play. Essentially, it's a measure of how people think, feel and their coordination, and really it's just a simple screening so that we know in terms of brain function just where people are before they play at the start of a season. The app allows us to collect information that will give us a nice baseline that we can then measure against when someone has an injury episode. What often happens is people might get to a line out and find that the player just doesn't remember the moves, and it's very common. They might seem fine otherwise, but you know, with that kind of effect on memory, then that's a symptom of maybe they've had a head knock. And you'd like to kind of think that if it was you at risk, then someone would do it for you.
Once we obviously remove a player from the field, through the app we can get communication back saying this player has a concussion, and then we follow the steps.
My name's Tracy Ward and I'm a phys ed teacher here at Otago Girls. We had a number of students that got concussions this year, so when we logged the app, I would get an email with the same information that was shared with the parents and the player, and I could also go into the app and just check when they'd had some more baseline testing done so that we could see how they were tracking. And it's very clear on what they need to be able to do at each stage before they move to the next. And if they go to the next stage and they're starting to show signs, then they need to go back to that previous phase.
Good management of a concussion is a graded exposure to exercise. So getting on a bike to start with, and we can put them all the way through to a little bit of running. And usually it's around about 4 or 5 days, so not really push the intensity up. And then if we were going to be able to do the first bit of contact, we always start with pads, but get the person used to just absorbing a bit of vibration, a bit of contact. But it's all based on how they recover from whatever exercise we give them. So it's really important you do log the exact training and just see how you respond to that. Time's a factor as well, and maybe we just need a little bit more time to get to that next level of intensity.
By being engaged with providers who have expert advice from New Zealand Rugby and through the use of the app, then it allows you to feel that one is you're taken seriously, two is it's about returning to learn or returning to work as it is much about returning to play, and really just returning to a sense of wellness. There's real simple things as a coach that you can kind of put in place that actually reduces the risk factor for the player in the first place.
As a teacher in charge, you've got a big responsibility to make sure that the well-being of your players is good. I had one parent this year, she'll be fine, she's okay, but I said no, I'm not actually putting her back on, and luckily I didn't because she had to go to hospital. Sometimes the parents aren't aware of the consequences of letting their daughter play after having a head knock. And so through this program, students have learnt to identify symptoms, and not just from themselves but other players, so that they can help support them on and off the field as well. I would strongly encourage all schools or all rugby clubs to get involved with this, because I think it's a really valuable tool to help manage the well-being of your players.
What we're trying to do here is to really build something that everybody has good awareness of, everybody participates in, and it's there for them when they actually themselves need it. Once they're into our system, they're going to be stepping out on the pitch to play a contact sport again only when they're ready, not before.